Hi, so I wanted to make a video today and I wanted the video to just basically focus on spirituality as a way forward for us all now. And do we step into the challenge of meeting ourselves on a whole different level as to who we really are and finding out the truth of that and how that can help us in these really dark, difficult times we find ourselves in. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, pull up a chair, grab a coffee, and we'll see how this goes. So I wanted to do this video then. I was talking to a friend a little while ago about some of the darkness in the world, and there are so many struggles people are having right now, from being in war-torn countries to the absolute epidemic of stress and anxiety on our planet. We can see that current ways of living in this world, on this planet, are not working. We can see that, we can all see it. Many years ago, the guy who brought Buddhism to the West, a guy called Jiddu Krishnamurti, said something along the lines, it's no measure of wellness to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And he said that, it was back in around, the 1950s, something like that. And look at where we are now. It seems far, far worse now. The level of toxicity, the people in charge of our planet who are all utterly just caught up in greed, in toxicity, in psychopathy, in consumerism, in power struggles. They're caught up in ways of absolute darkness, and it's been a war of dark versus light on this planet since the dawning of time. And there are the equally forces at work within each and every one of us, dark versus the light. Jung called the dark within us the shadow. Carl Jung, the psychoanalyst. The shadow is the repository for the place of all the things that we'd rather not look at, that we're not consciously aware of, that lie just without, outside the bounds of our conscious awareness. And we're in a heck of a state as humans. We know it. We know it for so many different reasons. You look at climate change, you look at, as I say, the runaway greed and the fact that the elites on our planet, the so-called elites, hold so much wealth between them when there is so much poverty in the world. So many people are struggling. So many people are disempowered. And spirituality then becomes a necessity. It isn't just a fancy thing. It isn't, when you think of being spiritual, it probably means different things to different people. To some people it might mean getting a yoga mat and hiking up a mountain and having a lovely shot for Instagram of you in some perfect yoga pose with the sun upon you, gazing serenely into the sunset, For other people, it might just serve as a nice sort of sugar-coated thing to try to take the edge off some harsh realities in life, but hold no other meaning. But spirituality is all that we are. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. But we've all but forgotten this. And many have not forgotten, and they've come and tried to wake us up. And as Bill Hicks said, we usually end up killing those people and letting the bad guys run amok on our planet. The people who try to talk to us about peace and love are the people who wind up dead, assassinated, But peace and love are so important. And you might think, well, these are nice concepts, but how on earth do we reach them in these fragmented, absolutely difficult times that we find ourselves in? Well, it's finding our true nature. It's finding our true nature, because our true nature is love. And that might seem like a faraway concept. It might seem like the most fantastical, ridiculous concept when you look at all the suffering in the world. But it is not. And I myself have had an experience of oneness. I'd read about Buddhist oneness and all of this, but on a plant medicine retreat many years ago, I had an experience where the little I that is filtered into this body, that is the entirety of my ego, it dissolved, and it dissolved into a greater loving consciousness surrounding it. This greater loving consciousness was an immense force beyond anything that I could possibly put into words. The beauty of it. I was just crying and crying for about 4 hours because the beauty of it was off the charts. And then, could I put it into words? No, you cannot put it into words. It's a bit like, if anyone's seen the film Contact, you know the bit where Jodie Foster goes up and she meets this alien, if that was real, of course, on this other planet, and she has this experience, and she's coming back and she's just there trying to quantify it, and she can't put it into any particular words that mean anything to anybody else, and she can't quantify it. And it's exactly like that. It's that powerful, and it's that big, and it's there with us all the time. We're just unaware of it because our ego minds are so good at filtering out everything else around us and keeping us safe and keeping us in our bodies and keeping us absolutely able to function in this world, right? Because if we dissolved like that on a regular basis, functioning in this world is probably not going to be the highest priority, right? We'd just be rushing around in this sea of bliss. We wouldn't get anything done. So our egos are very essential. You know, you hear an awful lot of spiritual people talking about killing the ego. You really don't want to do that. You really don't want to kill the ego, generally. But when you come to spirit, when you come to spiritual experiences, you want to do a little bit of ego dissolution, or do a little bit of going beyond what they call the doors of perception, what Aldous Huxley called the doors of perception, and what the band The Doors have based their name upon as well. You need to do a little bit of breaking through of that too. And it really doesn't matter if you choose to do this through a religion or through spiritual practice, so long as it's safe. So I can't recommend plant medicine retreats, by the way. I have to add a caveat to that. Buyer beware, just be aware of what you're getting into, of course. However beautiful, there are potentials there for a lot of darkness too. And some people have very difficult dark experiences. Sometimes they might need that for their own soul's evolution, but sometimes it can be very difficult to process. And some people do not. And some people can end up in psych wards afterwards. So don't go rushing out to do a plant medicine retreat. Do your research, listen to your intuition, find out where you are spiritually and what you can handle as well. Because even if you come out of a retreat like that and you come out, aware that, say, there are spirits within trees or there are spirits within plants, that might be a bit too mind-blowing for some people with very scientific, rational types of minds, You have to be aware of what you're going to be able to handle in your worldview as well. So just bear all that in mind. So long as your practices are safe, if you want to undertake Reiki, healing, or if you want to meditate or just pray or fast in a safe way. If you want to undertake a vision quest, again in a safe way. If you want to undertake shamanic work and things like this, shamanic journeying, for instance, that doesn't require anything from you at all, other than a willingness to show up, but I would recommend doing that with a teacher and having a guide if you're going to do anything like that as well. But what you are doing is you are revealing fragments. You are revealing fragments of something else, something numinous, to illuminate your path. And it might not be your path to wake up fully as well. We're all of us here. All of us have our individual reasons to be on this planet. And waking up fully, becoming fully enlightened is not for most of us. At least it hasn't been, not yet. But I believe that we are moving into more spiritual times generally. So our planet is said to be evolving spiritually, and she's taking us with her. Our whole solar system is said to be, because she's a living being, Mother Earth, and she's taking us with her, like it or not. So you might as well get into the party early, you know? So the reasons to come to spirituality then, there are many reasons you might want to. You might just have curiosity about what lies beyond. You might simply want to meditate because you might want to bring more peace into your life, because meditation, although it's a spiritual tool, it's also a way to bring peace and awareness into your life. It's like a mental toolbox for the mind. So if you suffer at all from anxiety or stress or things like that as well, it can be an incredibly useful way to combat some of these feelings, some of these difficulties as well. But it does come with a side effect. Sometimes people can focus on the mental toolbox side of meditation, but the side effect is that you're opening a doorway spiritually. And as with anything that you do spiritually, there comes a level of personal integrity and responsibility that comes into play as well. Because you want to try and make sure that you're opening that doorway and keeping a clean, open channel to higher spirit and to beings that are good and not of any lower vibration as much as possible. So that means you have to hold personal integrity in what you do as well, because everything is said to be a mirror of everything else. So we want to walk into a more spiritual world, not necessarily because it's glitzy or glamorous or because it's just a comfort. It's not just like a sticking plaster for the soul. It's a way of illuminating a bit more about who we are, because we are divine beings, we are eternal beings, having this human experience, which is really weird. And then we come back and we do it all again, we reincarnate. This is not your first rodeo on this earth, probably, and neither will it be any of, the last ones for any of us. Potentially. Some people say that the karmic cycle of death and rebirth on this planet in this way is going to come to an end soon. I don't know. So we want to illuminate the path, not just because of comfort, but because of truth. Simply finding truth, and simply because the truth is a love so great and beautiful that it's empowering. It will elevate you to a higher place of being within yourself. Especially if you're falling into despair, into darkness yourself. And if you're looking at the darkness in any form, then it's entirely possible you've fallen into states of despair, maybe many times. And it's entirely possible that you'll understand that whilst we have to look at the darkness, we shouldn't live in the darkness. You can't dwell too long in the darkness, because it will try and drag you down into it. And it takes a very, very strong person to withstand that and still be able to hold love and kindness and compassion in their hearts and not fall in to some really dark thoughts themselves, But we must obviously look at the darkness, because we cannot change what we do not look at. We cannot change what we do not see. And we must try and change this darkness in this world. The repetition of all the suffering that we just keep cycling through, all the warfare that we keep repeating, even though we say never again, and then we go and do it all over again. The powers that be on this planet are absolutely not working for the best interests of humanity, and we kind of know it. So empower yourself with the knowledge of who you are. Come to a place of light and love within you. Hold on to hope, because there is much to be hopeful for. However dark the darkness is, and it's bloody dark, right? But my own experience has shown me that love is so much greater than the dark. so much greater, and it's there with us. It's holding us, it's with us. We might choose not to see it because we get so caught up in our minds and the internal chatter that we forget to drop into our hearts. So if you're watching this, if you've fallen into any darkness yourself, hold on. There is much to be grateful for. There is much to be hopeful for. There is a lot of love, and there is a lot of joy, and there is a lot of beauty and magic on this planet. It's just very easy to not see it right now because not least we're all on our mobile phones and you can just see any awful crap all over the place that's happening in the world. At the click of a button, you can see it. And that can very easily bring you down. So I believe each of us have a job to do. Each of us have a job to do to try to hold our heads up high, to carry some of the light of this love, to try to carry some of that within us. It's no small journey, but I believe Mother Earth herself is helping us by elevating the consciousness of the planet right now. You are not alone. What I was shown, what I felt during this plant medicine experience was that we are not alone. None of us are alone. There are no accidents. Everything is known. You are loved beyond measure. And if you're struggling right now, all you need to do is try to meditate or try to step in to that connection that lies within you already. It's already there. It's just stepping into it, whether it's, as I say, through meditation or another means. This love will never leave you and you'll never be separate from it because it is already in you and it's already a part of you. And in stepping into that truth, in holding on to the light in that way, we can bring light to another. But you have to believe you're worthy of it as well. You have to hold love and compassion for who you are and where you've been on your journey. All of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. None of us come out of life unscathed. All of us have done things we wish we hadn't. And we need to be able to hold forgiveness for ourselves. If you can hold forgiveness for another, then you must hold forgiveness for yourself, and you must hold yourself in loving compassion as well. Just soften your heart towards yourself as well. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, but chances are, if any of us got the chance to go back and have a do-over at any point in our lives, chances are we'd make the same mistakes again. We're all fallible, we're all learning. None of us come through life without falling over several times. But it's who we become from that matters. How we integrate these lessons and who we become as a result. Because in the falling over, in these humbling moments where we don't act how we wish we would have done, there can be great learning there as well. So there really is a lot to be hopeful for. But this next leg of the journey, spirituality is going to play a role. It really is. A lot of people talk about coming into 5D reality now. And when I first heard that, I thought it was spiritual woo. But I've had my own experiences spiritually this summer, which suggest to me that perhaps it isn't. That there really is a new reality coming on board now spiritually. It's coming in stronger, with more synchronicities. And when you start leaning into love and start leaning into the divine a little bit as well, it doesn't mean giving away personal agency. You stand in your power. It empowers you to be more of who you are, to be the loving divine being that you can be, and to stand tall in that, you know? And the 5D, some people likened it to an operating system. So the old 3D operating system, we're now plugging into a new 5D operating system. And what that means is, yeah, the light of awareness coming in, synchronicities coming in faster, heightened intuition, heightened spiritual experiences in all kinds of guises. You might find you start opening up psychically. You might find your intuition becomes absolutely uncannily spot on. You might find maybe you're hearing spirit, or maybe your dreams are becoming much more vivid. You might find synchronicities just start lining up once you start leaning into your intuition. So I think spiritually it's an exciting time for us, even though there is much darkness on the planet. But we have to just take notice and bring that light of awareness to bear on our own lives. We have to step into who we are, all of who we are, as much as we can, and see where that takes us. Because to me, science and spirituality are two sides of the same coin. They coexist. You can't have one without the other. So having greater spiritual awareness and having greater spiritual gifts and all the rest of it, that can only enhance who we are on this planet and help us anchor in a bit more love, a bit more kindness. Help us just reduce the level of suffering that we see in the world. Some of the suffering is just simply from the unawareness of that connection and an ache to belong to something. And some of it obviously is as a result of far worse things. People in war-torn countries, etc. But the more we anchor in light and love, the more we anchor in the real truth of who we are, the more light we bring in, the darkness starts to fall away. That cannot hold, it cannot have the grip over us that it's had to the extent that it's had. So there's work to be done, there's collective work to be done, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. So if you're feeling it tonight, if you're feeling a bit alone, a bit lost, a bit unsure, please do know that on a spiritual level, you are loved beyond measure. You are here for a reason, and it's a really good reason. Whatever it is that you're here to do, your light matters. Who you are matters. So don't give up. There is a lot to be hopeful for. There is a lot to be hopeful for. Try and step into a bit more of a heart-centered way of being. Get out of overthinking. Get out of your head a little bit and back into your heart. And then stand tall. Stand tall in who you are. Claim back your sovereignty. Claim back your agency. It's great to be able to ask other people for help from time to time. That's normal and needed. So long as we don't overly lean on others and on others' opinions of who we are as well. Just stand tall in who you are. You're a loving part of the divine. You're as worthy as anybody else on this planet. So that to me is how we move forward. We have to encompass the divine. We have to encompass the divinity within us now. We have to start standing from that place. We have to start meeting it, incorporating it, learning more about it, embodying it, walking with it, listening to it. It's got a lot to communicate to all of us. Can really help change this planet with a whole lot of love and a whole lot of compassion to get us to a whole different place where we need to be to survive as a species, and where people can feel loved and seen and held and not just trampled on by the powers that be on this planet, who would have us roboticized and just absolutely caught in this corporate maze, this sort of Orwellian existence that we find ourselves sort of hurtling towards. There is another way of being. There really is. So, I hope this video finds you well. I hope you've got something from it. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're not falling into despair and to too much darkness. And I hope you can help elevate yourself back out of that, back into a place of love, back into a place of knowing who you are, into a place of hope. All you need is a tiny little bit of belief. And then Great Spirit, the divine God, they will take it from there to elevate you to your rightful place in the order of things. Take care. God bless. Wishing you all the love.